at the time, comes out and says, I don't think she was doing it on purpose. The coach says that. Go all the way to the front. This is how she plays. Look,
damn, girl.
She's obviously very sweet. She doesn't at all have any negative intent at all. She doesn't hit hard, and she plays very clean basketball. And watch what she does to the eyes. You see?
Ooh, wow. The play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time.
That's her in the back.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Straight to a press conference.
So you can pause it right there.
And that's her right there.
That's her in the back, and that's the foul.
Here comes kindness.
I stand by them. I will always stand by them.
Amen.
Everybody else can go to hell.
Oh, wait a minute.
Kindness.
Wait a minute.
So you know what? We need kindness.
Grace.
They go high, you go.
Grace. Sounds like a wholesome Christian. And goes, hey, by the way, go to hell, and then you leave.
Walking,
talking contradiction.
Everybody else is trying to divide our locker room. No, not having your players back will do quite the adequate job at doing that.
Patrick Bet David didn't waste any time. He pulled up the footage, looked straight into the camera, and said what a lot of people were already thinking. Stephanie White saw that play happen in real time, and instead of being honest about it in the moment, she tried to walk it back days later once the heat got too loud to ignore.
After the Dejanay Carrington clothesline from hell incident the other day, in which she came out and said, oh, Dejanay's she's not a dirty player. She just plays real hard. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, look, she turns into the Charlie Brown teacher pretty quickly with a lot of people. At least with me, she does. The moment I realize she's going to do it again and not back her own player, yeah, I'm out. I got to tell you, one of the most obvious traits of a terrible leader, not taking any responsibility.
Here's where it starts. DJ Carrington goes up for what looks like a block attempt on Sophie Cunningham and instead catches her across the neck, enough that Cunningham drops immediately and needs to be checked on by trainers courtside. It's ruled a flagrant 2 on the spot, and Carrington gets ejected before the broadcast even finishes replaying the hit from a second angle.
She has to be fired immediately. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White walked past her own player Sophie Cunningham to check on Dejanay Carrington after the hard foul.
Nobody in that arena needed a slow-motion replay to know that it looked bad. If you watch Stephanie White's face on the sideline during the exact second it happens, her eyes are locked on the play. She's not looking down at a clipboard, she's not turned toward an assistant coach, she's watching it live, right as it unfolds a few feet in front of her own bench. That detail matters. Because a few days later, that's exactly the part of the story Stephanie White tried to quietly rewrite.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a hard foul. I don't think that Dejanay intentionally came out to get her across the neck like she did, but it did happen, and I thought it was the right call. But, one of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose the hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the neck.
Right after the game, reporters asked Stephanie White about the foul, and she didn't hesitate. She said DJ is going to play her heart out every night, that nobody is walking in for an easy layup against her, and that she personally didn't oppose the hard foul. She even said she didn't think Carrington intentionally went for the neck, despite having just watched the sequence happen from a few feet away. That's not the response of a coach who missed the play. That's the calculated response of someone protecting a player she coached personally for 2 seasons back in Connecticut.
I can't believe that Stephanie White kind of stood up for Carrington. You would never see Shell Reeve, Becky Hammond doing this. You may think something, but you sit in a press conference and say that in front of your team? You don't do that. That's how you lose the team. The team will go against you. What? I'm blown away by that. You can think, oh, I used to coach her, talk to her on the side, whatever, but you don't go on national news and basically put down your own team.
This isn't a coach commenting on a stranger from another franchise. This is someone who developed a real relationship with Carrington, someone who ran a locker room with her and knows her competitive edge on a personal level. So when the moment came to call the foul exactly what it looked like, White softened it instead.
And why is Fever coach Stephanie White defending DeJohnay Carrington over her own player? That is absolutely bizarre, considering you can watch the replay of that, and it was absolutely unacceptable what happened to Cunningham. Both Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Collins are wonderful role models for young children, and they play the game exceptionally well. Sophie Cunningham said that the hit by DeJohnay Carrington was intentional, but Sophie Cunningham's coach sided with Carrington. Carrington is a Chicago Sky Guard that was once coached by White. I just can't understand why the WNBA is not doing more to protect their players. When Stephanie White was interviewed, she said she doesn't oppose the foul, but she definitely doesn't think it was intentional. That Carrington plays her butt off. That's a pretty generous interpretation of what happened to Sophie Cunningham.
The reaction to that press conference was immediate, and it wasn't quiet. Fans sitting courtside were audibly upset the moment the replay went up on the Jumbotron. Clips of the hit spread across every platform within hours, racking up millions of views by morning. Analysts started asking the same question on repeat. How does a flagrant 2 that visibly injures a player get described by that player's own coach as something she doesn't oppose? The louder the criticism grew, the more pressure built on Stephanie White to say something different than what she'd already said on camera. That mounting pressure directly explains what happened only a few days later, when White suddenly changed her story in front of a completely different set of cameras and a completely different tone.
In the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time.
3 days after the original incident, Stephanie White stood at a podium again, and her tone had shifted completely. She said she didn't actually see the play develop in real time, explaining that she went straight from the bench to a scheduled press conference, and only afterward, once she watched it on replay, realized how egregious it looked. She said she takes it personally when people suggest she doesn't have her players' backs, insisting she rides with every one of them, no exceptions. Here's the problem. Sideline footage from the original broadcast clearly shows her looking directly at the play as it happens. She's not turned away, not distracted by a substitution. She's facing straight at the court with a clear line of sight to the exact spot the foul occurred. Saying she didn't see it live doesn't line up with what the cameras captured that night, and once people rewatched that sideline angle side by side with her new explanation, the story stopped adding up.
It says, I couldn't see it.
Say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real
That's
time.
her in the back.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Went straight to a press conference.
So you can pause it right there.
And that's her right there.
That's her in the back, and that's the foul. What do you mean you can't see the foul?
Unbelievable.
And she says she got a better view than some of the referees got. And then this is how she comes and cries on TV about the criticism she got. How dare people on social media call her out? Go for it.
This is what really got people talking online. Someone took the original sideline angle and put it right next to her later press conference quote, breaking it down frame by frame. It's genuinely hard to watch that comparison and walk away thinking she truly missed the play. Her head doesn't move. Her eyes track the entire play from start to finish. Whatever she saw happen on that court, she saw it exactly as it happened. Not 3 days later on a highlight reel. So why change the story? The most obvious explanation is the one a lot of people didn't want to say out loud, even though it was sitting right there in plain sight. Stephanie White coached DJ Carrington, and knows her personally. Once the backlash reached a level she could no longer ride out. Protecting that relationship became more important than staying upfront about what she actually witnessed.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that. It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing. Because they are f***ing playing. The reality is, with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility. And I will always lead with integrity. Doesn't mean I'll always get it right. I'm also human. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win.
This is the part that exposes the contradiction the clearest, and it's the moment that really lit the fuse online. During that same stretch of press conferences, White raised her voice at the podium and told everyone in the room, and everyone watching from home, that she stands by her players no matter what. That she rides with them regardless of what anybody else outside that locker room has to say about it. It sounded genuinely passionate. It sounded like a coach drawing a hard line in defense of her entire roster against outside noise. But stand by which players exactly? Because the player who actually got hurt on that specific play is also one of hers. Sophie Cunningham wears the exact same jersey. She's on the same roster, in the same locker room, under the same head coach, every single day at practice. If loyalty is supposed to run in both directions equally, that same passionate energy should have shown up the moment Cunningham needed her own coach to say the hit looked exactly as bad as it did, not 3 full days late, and only after the internet forced the issue into the open.
And then she put both hands up right after. But that's... DJ's not doing things half speed, right? No. Like, she's swinging hard and coming back.
Now here's where the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. And it's the exact reason this story didn't fade away quietly. Just days after the Cunningham foul, Carrington was guarding Cecilia Zandalicini of the Golden State Valkyries and caught her directly across the eye while reaching for the basketball. No flagrant was called, no technical either. But the clip spread across social media almost instantly, because it looked eerily similar to what had just happened days earlier, another play where the contact landed on an opponent's face instead of the ball. One isolated incident can reasonably be called an accident. A second nearly identical one that quickly, against a completely different opponent, starts to look like a pattern worth actually examining instead of quietly excusing away again.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Now here we have her completely so far away from the basketball, just slapping Tiffany Hayes in the face. Let me just reach and see if I could grab some face real quick. Just smacking Tiffany Hayes in the face. Not really not that big of a deal. Steph, any thoughts on this one?
One of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And
fair enough. Nobody.
It didn't even stop there. Later in that same matchup, Carrington also caught Tiffany Hayes across the mouth on another heavily contested possession. That's 2 separate hits landing on an opponent's face in a single outing, stacked directly on top of the flagrant just days earlier against Cunningham. Go back further into her career, and you'll find an entire trail of clips from previous seasons showing a similar recurring pattern. Hard fouls that repeatedly end up making contact well above the shoulders instead of clean plays directly on the ball. That's not one bad night taken out of context. That's a genuine track record, and it makes Stephanie White's original defense, framing it all as she plays hard, harder to take at face value. If this were one aggressive defender having a rough week, it would be easy for fans to move past. But when the same type of dangerous play keeps resurfacing across multiple games and opponents over multiple seasons, it stops being a coincidence and starts becoming a habit somebody with real authority over that player should address directly, instead of explaining it away every time.
She comes in here with performative anger, and I look at it this way. This is not an apology. This is justification, an excuse wrapped in emotion with performative outrage. That's what I think. Wow. And she's glancing at the paper there. Sincere apologies don't need a one-pager. That was likely written by, I'll say likely, I don't know, likely written by the Fever PR flack and likely approved by the league. Every statement that goes out here, the league wants the...
I didn't even think about the league. Fever, yeah, it needs to clear the Fever PR, but clearing the league, that's an interesting perspective I have not heard yet. Did the league see this before Stephanie went out and did that? It's a very interesting point, Tom.
The uproar to stop, but they like the eyeballs. But this is going over the waterfall. And I look at it this way. If I was on the board, I would be saying to the CEO, you know what? I think this thing has gone over the waterfall here, and I think we need to make a change. We need to make a change in leadership. And if I was the owner of the
fire her.
I would fire her.
I would as well.
I would say, I don't think that was...
We can't back up the players. What are we doing?
That's exactly what analysts started pointing out once the second incident against the Valkyries broke online. Commentators who had already been skeptical of White's post-game comments used the Valkyries game as proof their concerns weren't overblown. If Carrington's aggressive style kept resulting in hits to the face, and her former coach kept finding fresh reasons to soften the criticism, the pattern stopped being about one hard foul. It became a question of whether White was willing to hold her former player accountable at all, or whether their personal relationship made that impossible. That's the real tension running underneath this entire story. Stephanie White coached DJ Carrington for 2 full seasons before either one of them ended up where they are today. That's not a small detail, and it's not something fans invented to manufacture drama. When you coach somebody that long, you build real trust, a relationship that doesn't disappear once you're on opposite benches. So when the play happened right in front of her, and White's first instinct was to frame it as Carrington simply playing hard rather than calling it exactly what everyone else saw. That reaction lines up with someone protecting a player she still feels connected to, not a neutral coach evaluating a dangerous play against her own injured athlete. Then the backlash hit, and it kept building by the hour. Fans were visibly upset both online and in the arena, and her own players reportedly weren't thrilled either. Watching their head coach downplay a hit that put a teammate flat on the floor on national television. Once that reaction became impossible to ignore, White walked her original comments back, and that's precisely when the new story about not seeing the play in real time conveniently showed up, right after the outside pressure had become too loud to sit with quietly. But that explanation doesn't hold up. It contradicts the sideline footage everyone rewatched, and it contradicts her own confident post-game comments from the night the play happened. If she genuinely hadn't seen it develop live, her first instinct should have leaned toward uncertainty, not the detailed confidence she showed about Carrington's intent and competitive nature. That inconsistency elevates this story into something bigger than a coach fumbling her words once. It's the shift itself, tracked step by step, that tells the real story. Confident defense right after the game, a walked-back explanation once criticism became unavoidable, then a passionate speech about standing by her players that sounded like she was defending herself just as much as anyone else.
Every day these women put their on the line.
They're not soldiers. They're ball players, ma'am. They don't need to get beat up on the court.
Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
Oh, girl. Well, Stephanie, ma'am, clearly you did not stand and back your players who were deliberately being struck on the court. But somehow you made this about you. Somehow you're the victim in all of this. This is about basketball, ma'am. This is not about you. Stop playing the victim. You failed your player as a coach. There's even video out there where you were walking right past her after the stuff happened.
And that loyalty, real as it may be, only seemed to point in one direction. Cunningham was the one who actually got hurt. Cunningham was the one who needed her own coach to immediately call the hit dangerous and unacceptable. Instead, the benefit of the doubt went to the player White used to coach. while the player actually on the receiving end of the hit had to wait days before her own head coach even acknowledged how bad it truly looked. None of this requires assuming the worst about Stephanie White as a person. Coaches build real relationships over years, and those relationships shape how people react under sudden pressure, often without them realizing it. But when the footage shows her watching the play live, when her own words afterward don't match the story she told days later, and when a nearly identical pattern shows up again that same week from the same player, it stops looking like an isolated misunderstanding. It starts looking like a coach who saw exactly what happened, chose to protect someone she used to coach in the moment it mattered most, and only adjusted her story once the fallout made silence impossible. Saying you stand by your players no matter what sounds strong at a podium, but standing by all of them equally, including the one who got hurt, is very different from quietly picking a side and hoping nobody notices.
I think there's just been a lot of outside noise, but our locker room is good, and that's what it is to be an Indiana Fever on the staff. As a player, that when you come here, that's going to be one of the things that's going to try to distract you. But our locker room in there, it's tight, and we have each other's backs. Coach loves us. She didn't see the clip. At the end of the day, she didn't see the clip. And you know what, Dejanay, she is a hell of a player. She's a great defender. And so she coached her for I don't know how many years up in Connecticut. So give her flowers, and she didn't see it, and that's okay. Me and Steph are great. Steph is great with all of us. And so it's really the outside noise that's trying to distract us, but we're good.
Sophie Cunningham herself didn't stay quiet either. She called the foul intentional in her own post-game comments, describing how it felt to get hit that hard and stressing she didn't believe it was incidental contact. That direct contradiction between what Cunningham said and what her own coach initially said only added another layer to the controversy. When the player who got hurt tells a different version of events than the coach standing a few feet away, fans trust the person who absorbed the hit over the one offering damage control days later.
Yeah, I talked to Steph earlier in the day too, and I think we forget a lot of times, like, we're human and she has feelings, and there's moments that are really hard, and sometimes that's just the job you sign up for. But at the same time, like, it's okay to feel those emotions. And I just told her, like, I've been through the same thing. Like, there's been days where I've been really upset, and you can have the thickest skin in the world, but sometimes it does get to you. And, I think our world is just like, we love to hate. We love to divide. Like, that's all we want to do. Like, nobody wants to see each other succeed. And I think that's a really painful thing for myself to watch. I feel like we need to do a better job at uplifting each other. And I can assure you there was no way we were losing this game tonight. And I told her that before the game. Like, there was no way we were losing this game for her. And, it's tough. Like, that's my head coach. Like, I hated that our fans booed her before the game. That made me a little sick, to be honest.
Interestingly, not everyone in that locker room turned against White during all of this. Caitlin Clark publicly stood up for her head coach after White faced heavy backlash from fans and media members over her comments, which shows this situation genuinely split opinion even inside the Fever's own locker room. Some players clearly appreciated White's instinct to defend a fellow competitor in the league. Others, watching Cunningham deal with a real injury, likely felt a very different way about the entire situation unfolding around them that week. That split reaction is the most telling part of this story. This was never just one coach saying one careless thing at one press conference. It became a referendum on where loyalty is supposed to sit inside a locker room, and whether a coaching relationship built years earlier with a rival player should ever outweigh standing up for the player wearing your own jersey and sitting on your own bench in pain. Until Stephanie White addresses that specific contradiction directly and clearly. Instead of offering another carefully worded statement 3 days after the fact, this story is going to keep resurfacing every single time DJ Carrington ends up in another headline for the exact same reason.